Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Committee Reads. I am your host, KWCs, and with me today I have Greyshot, Alex, Nagoda, and Joe. Today we will be tackling Match 107, Orochi vs. Legion, by Joshua Reynolds. Planet X, a long and abandoned world after the fall of the Exilians, has fallen prey to two different sinister beings. Drifting in the blackness of space, the ancient god, imprisoned in ice since the dawn of time, hissed in wicked delight before the gravitational pull of the dead world brought his prison down upon the surface. Tsukuyomi, the evil god of Japanese folklore, had returned to wreak his havoc upon his father's creation, but something else had laid its claim on Planet X. Expelled from Earth by the mighty Gamera, the evil Legion rested just below the rocky surface. Legion's blue eyes flashed with alien life as the queen of the swarm awoke. Her body moved slightly, but that slight movement had ripped an entire fissure open within the ground. Legion's shriek echoed throughout the mountains of the planet, alerting the evil being of its presence. Tsukuyomi's eyes narrowed as he remembered the call of the insect. He knew he stood no chance against such a beast in this pathetic human form, but his true, 8-headed serpent body would decimate the feeble mortal. The god's body was engulfed in a white light as it began to grow and change shape. Gone were his arms, replaced by 8 slithering necks tipped with dragon-like horn-crowned heads. A massive mountain of red flesh replaced his back and chest. His feet enlarged and clawed, in a tail that rivaled its towering height. The ground rose up like a wave of water before crashing back down. As the dust cleared, the insect-like shape of Legion stood. Her mandibles parted as she released a shriek. Her sidearms cracked as they moved apart, and her chest glowed with a red tint. The two both now had claims on this dead planet. One wanted it to start a hive, the other wanted to use it as a kingdom. Pass.
The war between insect and dragon would decide who wins the world. Orochi, the granddaddy of all, made the first move. 3 of his maws opened up, screams of pure hate coming out before trails of burning fire. Legion remained still, allowing the fire to splash harmlessly against her thick exoskeleton. The queen shrieked in annoyance once the bath of fire had finished. Now it was her turn. Her horns parted, bolts of electromagnetic energy dancing from side to side. The beast released a war cry before her electromagnetic bolt fired from between her horns. Orochi hissed in shock before the bolt smashed against his right thigh. The beam tore through his hide as it were paper. A shower of meat and fluid fell to the ground as the explosion spread apart across his side and the ground, reducing parts of his red body to a charred black. As a cloud of smoke raced up his long neck, scarlet bolts of lightning began to rip across Legion's form. The insect screeched in rage as pieces of armor flaked off her body, landing on the ground in a smoking heap. Legion backed away before her shield arms cackled with energy. Barrier flashed in front of her form. The lightning barrage washed across the shield, exploding into nothing more than flashes and sparks. Pass.
As the bolt ceased fire, Legion burst through the cloud of smoke with surprising speed. Her head lowered down and thrust forward, stabbing the massive horn into the dragon's shoulder. Orochi hissed in pain before several of his jaws snaked around and coiled several of the shield-like arms like an anaconda would its dinner. Sickening crunches and breaks could be heard for miles as the arms were snapped like twigs. The alien bug ripped her horn from Orochi's body. A gush of yellow blood splashed against Legion's body as she leaned upward, shrieking in a mixture of anger and pain. Orochi hissed once more before throwing up 4 of his heads upward, his dagger-like fangs sinking into the exoskeleton on the insect's underside. Silicon gas began to spray out into the dragon's many maws. Legion's body then fell back down, sword-like appendages stabbing into several of Orochi's necks. The dragon hissed and tried to back away, but his heads were pinned under Legion's massive bulk. Orochi screamed in terror as his necks finally pulled away, but each were reduced to bloody stumps. The insect backed away, removing her legs from the necks. Her chest flashed with a red light. Cavity. Orochi hissed aloud before his remaining heads released streams of orange and yellow fire. The symbiotic legion cried in terror as they flew into the walls of fire and began to fall to the ground, covered in raging flames. Pass.
Alright, Joe, you
Orochi
get 2, and then Alex gets 2.
Okay. Orochi cried in victory as bolts of lightning once again began to spew from his eyes. Legion cracked her shield up, arms. A weak barrier came up, but quickly exploded into a shower of sparks as the lightning passed through it and exploded against her horn. A quick explosion erupted on her skull as each horn fell to the rocky surface, one stabbing into the rock and the other rolling on its side. Legion fell forward, her eyes now reduced to black orbs. Orochi roared in victory as Legion's corpse remained still, but suddenly, something else happened. Pass.
Legion's eyes turned bright blood red, and her body quickly rose up, laser-like whips snaking out of the glowing orb that rested between each horn stump. Orochi called out again, beams firing from his eyes once more, but it now had lost the battle. Legion's laser whips lashed out, and like a hot knife through butter, easily cut through Orochi's godly flesh. Sprays of yellow blood rose into the air as his heads fell by the many. The dragon slumped down, his remaining heads crying in pain as the whips ripped his body apart. Chunks of flesh were cut off and fell to the rocky ground below. And Legion's assault continued. She roared loudly as she ripped the whips free, allowing the serpent's body to fall to the evil god. The Wiccan Tsukuyami had lost his battle. A mere mortal had destroyed a god. Now Planet X belonged to the Hive. As the bloody remains of Orochi were left to rot on Planet X's surface, Legion lifted her broken head to the star-filled sky. With Jupiter shining brightly behind her, the queen roared greatly. From behind her, the ground split yet again, alien pods giving rise. A cloud of black and gray dust washed over the carcass of Orochi, settling down on the beast as the nest blossomed. Winner, the author.
Yeah, I'll admit this one's a little. It's a little on the weak side in that I don't think it does.
It sucks.
A little on the weak side in that it doesn't do it has the two going at it. It's definitely just a simple, just two giant beasts going at it. They don't take.
Need I bring up Legion versus Biolante's length? Do you want that kind of length?
Well, no, not necessarily. It's not about length, it's about what's done. And I don't feel like this part, I like the environment. We don't get that many, Planet X matches, and it's nice to have one. But I don't feel like it really did too much with it. Granted, it's we didn't get any Legion burrowing or any of that fun stuff. It was just a very, very simple brawl between two brutes. And that's kind of the most you're going to get out of it. I don't know. It just feels a little. It just doesn't strike with me. It doesn't particularly ring a good bell with me. It's better than 102. I'll at least give it that credit.
They're about the same.
To you.
To us.
All right. If you want to generalize like that.
Remember, this is our opinion.
Yeah. Not yours, our.
We are all collectively the same thing. Anyway. But yeah, freaking. Yeah, it's like some of the detailing's nice. Some of the fighting's nice, but it's not it doesn't really stick out too much because it's all just kind of mostly a projectile war for the most part, with a little bit of physical confronting here and there. But it's nothing too crazy, is what I'm trying to get at. So, Greyshot, what'd you think of it?
Well, I think I think the banner is, it's not nothing too crazy, but I will admit do like the shot. They are inserted pretty nicely. The match itself, I thought, was well written. Like, there's nothing like, it's not. I think it's one of the better. Again, people might not like his style, but I actually think Joshua Reynolds is a good writer.
No, he's not.
In this one, though, I would say that the most unique thing is the setting. But at the end of the match, there's not much done with the setting.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool, and I wish there would have been more kind of use of the topography and like more use of like the things around. Because at the end of the day, yeah, it's two monsters firing beams at each other, and then Legion pulls out the hyper beam move, and Orochi dies. Like, there's not much. Like, it's very to the point. It's very quick, but it's also not memorable. Like, there's nothing uniquely done with the attacks. So at the end of the day, I think it's a solid match. It has what's one thing that I remember most about it is the setting. But excluding that, there's not much else to distinguish it from a lot of his other matches. It's not his weakest match for Josh, but it's definitely not his strongest.
All of his matches are his weakest.
185 would beg to differ.
Okay, that's like his one good one.
Yeah, 185 definitely begs to differ.
Okay.
It kicks down the door of differ.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are the McAllister family visiting when they leave their child in Home Alone? A. London. B. New York. C. Tokyo. D. Paris.
Your mom.
Oh, okay.
I don't get it. Am I missing?
And Grisha got the right answer. It was
Yeah.
Paris.
Oh, okay.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. But no, Nagoda, what are your thoughts?
It went by really fast.
Because we didn't want to read it.
Also, generic Legion loses a horn and whips things to death.
Yeah. I will say, I think it's incredibly, in an actual fight, I think that's kind of rare. It's like it's like a tail being ripped off Godzilla. You know, I don't think it's gonna happen every time. Like,
so far it's happened a bit so far. I think that's
but
a staple
for Legion, it always happens.
Yeah, for Legion, it's like Goliath getting his horn ripped off. It's
Hey, that's not true. Godzilla lost his tail in Space Godzilla.
Or better yet, it's like a monster shooting King Caesar in the eye. It's like, really?
yeah.
Really?
Kajux, you see, but the difference is, when Legion loses her horn, she gets stronger.
True. Very. You know what? You got me there. So, but that's it. Oh yeah, right. Joe, what'd you think of 107?
Well, it existed. This is a match that was written. It's pretty bland.
Good mate.
This was like reading the instructions on bread.
Except that's more entertaining. That's eat bread. This made spaghetti was like Olive Garden. That's gonna be Ditto's most famous quote.
It's 8.
But yeah. So far, like, general consensus seems to range from little on the weak side to absolutely weak. To
No, I said fucking terrible.
I'm being generous, all right. But yeah. I was gonna say honestly, and then you would have caught me saying, "Oh, you're lying."
Implies you were lying.
But yeah, this one's like, I don't think it's the strongest one of the bunch. Even the banner by Jackson Morris, it's like, the environment's cool. I think the monsters are well placed, but something just feels just a little off. I'm not quite sure what. It could be just my imagination, though. But yeah.
That's actually Neptune in the background. Wrong planet, Jackson. How dare
0 out of 10.
Gosh fucking darn it.
But yeah.
He's fired now.
I think...
This is why he hasn't done a new banner in forever.
Yeah, because we caught him with the wrong planet in the background of this one. But anyway, with that said, this has been match 107. We will see you, ladies, gentlemen, and others, for match 108. Till then, folks.